Okay, students, we're going to talk about the 4 types of angles dealing with parallel lines cut by a transversal. Okay, so let's say we have these 2 lines cut by a transversal. How do we show that they're parallel? You should know that symbol by now. Same number of arrows in the same direction. So now those lines are parallel. How do I name lines? If I don't have 2 points on a line to name, I use lowercase letters at one of the arrows. So now this says line N is parallel to line L. And lowercase there for that line M is a transversal. That's your transversal. You got to know your vocab again. So you have 2 parallel lines cut by a transversal. So whenever you hear that, it's this situation. I'm going to use numbered angles to make it easier instead of having to use 3 letters for each one. And why would I have to use 3 letters for each one? Because there's more than one angle at each spot. So I'd have to use 3 letters every time. And I'm about saving time when I'm explaining this. So we're just going to use numbered, because you can also name an angle by its number if there's a number there. Okay. So our 4 types corresponding. Alternate interior angles, alternate exterior angles, and same side interior angles, also called consecutive interior angles. So you gotta know both those because DCAS could use either one. I think they like consecutive interior angles more often, but same side interior angles is more descriptive and helps you out identifying them easier. So first off, the word alternate. When you want to think with alternate, I'm just going to put this down here. Alternate, you should be thinking diagonal across transversal. You might just be able to say diagonal if you understand that. It's always across the transversal. You can just say the word diagonal then. Versus the next one would be exterior angle. An exterior angle. Whenever we say exterior, we are referring to exterior means outside. And what is it outside of? Outside of the parallel, or that's your symbol for parallel lines. Oh, and they technically don't have to be parallel lines, but in our situation, they're parallel lines. Interior, inside. Interior means inside. So inside of the parallel lines. Because again, these are parallel. If they weren't parallel, just be inside the 2 lines cut by the transversal. Okay. So I have 4 exterior angles. Angle 1, angle 2, angle 7, and angle 8. I have 4 interior angles inside the parallel lines. Angle 3, angle 4, angle 5, and angle 6. So in these 3 cases, let's highlight those again here. In this case, and this case, you see it has the word interior or exterior in it. So if I have the word interior, that means I'm choosing from angles 3, 4, 5, and 6. When I have the word exterior, I'm choosing from angles 1, 2, 7, and 8. So it already wipes out 4 of the 8 right there. Okay, either inside the parallel lines or outside the parallel lines. Alternate means diagonal. So if it's alternate interior, so the interior, 3, 4, 5, 6, what's the alternate? Diagonal. There's a diagonal across there. And there's the other diagonal right there. So my alternate interior angles are measure of angle 3 equals the measure of angle 6. Measure of angle 4 equals the measure of angle 5. Or you can say they're congruent. All congruent angles are also equal in measure. Okay? And I have alternate exterior angles. My 4 pairs, or 2 pairs of those are 1 and 8. Measure of angle 1 equals the measure of angle 8, because they're alternate diagonal. And measure of angle 2 equals the measure of angle 7, because they are, again, diagonal and outside. Exterior meaning outside. Okay, same side interior angles. That should be easy because it says same side. Same side of what? The transversal. And they're interior. So instead of alternate, which means across the transversal diagonal, now we're on the same side. So the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 5, they are supplementary, which means they add to 180. 2 angles add to 180. And the measure of angle 4 plus the measure of angle 6 equals 180. They're supplementary. Now, what's the easy way to remember that? Supplementary is when I say same side interior angles, which also helps identify where they're located, whereas consecutive interior doesn't help as much. The interior part helps. Consecutive would mean one after the other, but you could think 5 and 6 are consecutive as well, but it's supposed to be 3 and 5. That's why same side interior angles, okay, are much more descriptive. Same side of the transversal. 5 and 6 are not on the same side. They're on opposite sides of the transversal. And they're interior. So 3 and 5, 4 and 6. All same side interior angles, or also called consecutive interior angles, are supplementary. So again, how can you remember that? It's the only one that starts with an S. Alternate, alternate, and corresponding do not start with an S. So it's easy to remember. There's no excuse for not knowing which one is the supplementary, meaning the 2 angles add 180. These other 3 are all equal in measure. Notice you have equal signs between them. They're not adding to 180, they're equal each other. So our last pairings are corresponding angles. Corresponding is on the same side of the transversal. So that's 1, 3, 5, and 7 are all on the same side. 2, 4, 6, and 8 are on the same side. Okay, so it's got to be on the same side of the transversal. One has to be exterior and one has to be interior, and they cannot be adjacent. Okay, one interior and one exterior on same side of transversal and not adjacent. You sure know what adjacent means. ADJ for adjacent. Adjacent means next to. So 1 and 3 are on the same side, but they're adjacent, so that can't be. One's interior, one's exterior, but they're adjacent. Can't be. They cannot be adjacent. So that means the exterior one has to go with the interior one or 5. 1 and 5 are equal. Here's 3 is an interior, so it must go with an exterior, 3 and 7, and they're not adjacent. Okay, so 1 and 5 are corresponding, 3 and 7 are corresponding, 2 and 6 are corresponding, 4 and 8 are corresponding. Okay, so all of these are equal. The pairings are equal. That's why I have it right here. All 3 corresponding angles are congruent, alternate interior angles are congruent, alternate exterior angles are congruent. The only one that is supplementary, and it's easy to remember because it starts with an S, is same side interior angles. And since they're supplementary, they add to 180. They don't equal 180, they add to 180. So you make sure you have the addition sign. And so you know exactly what to do. This is the geometry part, remembering what your angles are and whether you're equal or supplementary. The rest of it is now just solving the equation. It's a pre-algebra problem, 7th grade problem. Solve for x. Okay? All right, that goes ahead and does that one.